Good morning, and it is Tuesday, the 10th of March.
It is Tuesday, yes.
It is Tuesday,
It feels like Friday, but
it does feel like Friday. It feels like every day feels like a new day with the markets the way it is. And we've got Beachy Head with us. Welcome, Chris. Good morning. You look very fresh-faced for someone that's just done a webinar.
Last night. Yes.
Yeah, you beat Trump to his press.
Yes, although by the time I finished the webinar and then I checked my phone and the market had started to rally, so...
Yeah, and for those, it must have been something you said. So for those of you that were up last night or weren't, let's catch up on some of the quick overnight news. Markets, of course,
everything is fixed.
Yeah, it's all almost over, says Trump. Markets did have a big lift after Trump hinted that the Iran war is nearing its end. I wanted to stay up for the presser, but it was a bit too late for me. But
Nobody's got the will to live through a Trump press conference.
Well, except for Trump. He did it at a golf course, didn't he?
Obviously, yes.
So he claimed that US and allied forces are well ahead of schedule in Operation Epic Fury, whatever that means, against Iran, and boasted that thousands of Iranian military and industrial targets, including drone and missile production sites, have already been hit. Any key items that you saw that piqued your interest?
Well, the idea that they're running ahead of schedule, but then they also asked him, but your defence secretary says that the war has just begun, which is it? And he said, well, it could be both. And of course, wars start when you want them to, but they don't end when you want them to. And I think we are seeing obviously this market rally. You've had crude prices drop 30% from the Monday night highs or Sunday night highs, whichever you prefer. To go from 116 to 83 within the space of about 12 hours, maybe slightly more than 12 hours, tells you how volatile this market is. The prices are dropping again this morning, so you had a bit of an overnight bounce designed to move down again. So you get a sense that oil goes down, stocks go up, and that's sort of where we are at the moment. And that doesn't pay to overthink it too much, but that's essentially what we're seeing across the board this morning.
That's right. Good morning, everyone. We see you. And also the lovely Cam, who is directing this morning, has also put in a good morning, people, everyone. Phil has just arrived, our producer, Phil. So with that, let's have a look at the markets here, because they are looking like what we've not seen in, I guess, 2 weeks, perhaps. We've got a lot of blues there, or greens rather. If you are looking at a different platform, on the IG platform, it is blue. The FTSE is up 1.2% there. And let's take a look at the individual movers.
I can't see your screen.
Are you going to put it up, Cam, for us on the big screen?
I'm not that good.
His eyesight.
Spirax, they had numbers this morning. They are moving. Vistry was up 5%. It was down 25% last week, so a bit of a bounce there. Rolls-Royce, unsurprisingly, defence, but everything very much a risk-on morning because of the macro picture. So you have a very solid set of gains across the board. But as I say, this is dependent on oil continuing to go down. It's dependent on... He might have said the war is moving faster than they anticipated, but it's not over, which means that if you have, say, another lurch higher in oil prices, this could change very, very quickly. But it is a decent bounce off the lows. We're 150 points higher from the S&P, I think it was. Is it 150 points? No, I understate that. 200 points higher from where we were. FTSE 100 back through... Sorry, I'm trying to find my charts. 10,300. It's still, if it were to top out here, and I'm not saying it would, but if it were to top out here and start to head lower, that would be a lower high. Given the sort of panic that attended markets on Sunday night and into Monday morning with oil prices where they were, it's not surprising that you've had this rebound. As we've said ad nauseam, this is a volatile market. It moves around a lot more. But we'll see whether this bounce has legs. Unfortunately, all we can do at this point is wait and see, really.
And also, don't forget, we are also... Let's have a look at the VIX, because I checked on it on the way in, and we're back at 22 people. And so that is a huge drop from where we saw it not too long ago. Nat gas is also down. Let's have a look there. Down 4.8%. No, that's where we are. There we are. Down 2%, and Nat Gas UK is down 15.9% there. Oil, Brent, WTI also down heavily. What? And these days in the markets, which is why you're seeing Chris and myself sigh quite a bit, and we're wondering whether it's Friday yet, is I feel like we used to say that, things happen so quickly, it could change in a day. Now I feel like it changes in hours.
Yes.
In hours.
But you had the press conference last night was a classic case of, well, people are taking it as a classic case of Trump doing what he always does, which is changing course. People call it taco, of course. That was the shameless label applied to it in the aftermath, that he would look at energy prices above 100, realise that he had elections coming up and decide to change his mind. So it seems to have played out for the time being. But I suspect if you look at crude prices and how overextended they were, it's not surprising they've come back down. They're just overstretched. You just don't have to be, just by eyeballing the chart, just shows you how overstretched they were. And the fact you had comments about ending the war, and of course the potential release of reserves by the G7, but they are back now to more of a rising trend. So that trend is still in place, and if it then continues to push on from here, and what it would take is perhaps more attacks on oil infrastructure. The straits remain effectively closed. Bahrain invoked force majeure yesterday. That means that there is still an underlying bid in oil prices. He might want the war to end fairly soon, but as they say in military strategy, the enemy gets a vote. And if Iran is in no mood to come to the table just yet, then that makes life a bit difficult for him.
And what's also fascinating is that we live in this topsy-turvy world now, where usually when a war starts, gold rises. But we've seen in the past week that is not the case when investors are moving over to the dollar. And now that we've seen markets rally, look at gold. Gold is up 0.75% there. Silver up 2.3% as well. So it is quite something, this volatility. Make sure that you have your risk management in place. For those high conviction stocks that you hold, make sure that you have looser than normal. If you want to keep hold of them, maybe 3 ATR or more, because this is whipsawing all over the place.
Yeah, we should look at the average Euro. Always a good way of getting a sense of where your stocks should be going, and you can see how that is on oil still massively elevated just over the last 48 hours or so from where we were even last week. That was 100 on the ATR at the end of last week. It's now 400. That means you have to be using wider stops and smaller position sizes. You have to take into account the prevailing mood of the underlying market. If you look to, say, the S&P, 35 overnight down to 25 now. Markets that are falling tend to be noisier than markets that are rising. I think it's just a nature of the beast, essentially. So that's why we say in these kind of pullbacks, you have to, things move much more quickly, so you can still use smaller position sizes and still aim for the reasonable target in terms of your profit or loss, to be honest with you. So just be aware of this, that this is not calmed down, particularly from where, it's calmed down from the extremes we've had overnight, but not particularly compared to where we were a week ago. But markets are recovering from where they were, so we'll see how far this goes.
And bear in mind, there will be more presses ahead. There's also, of course, that G7 meeting. You haven't got a time on that yet, have you?
Not that I've seen.
Looking at the losers list, no surprise here. I told you yesterday that loads of people in Shell BP, because they were concerned about taco, many had sold, and lo and behold, look at that BP, almost like the rhyme that I've put on my chart for a very long time. And the rhyme is sell before 5. That is the mantra. There we go, see? If you're ever in BP, make sure that you remember this, sell before 5, and then make sure that you remind yourself on the chart, because this still is in play. Many of those bag holders there that wanted to get rid of that stock, at the moment it gets ever so close to 5, you get rid of it. Shell as well, down 2.3% there. We have some movers.
I think been the biggest winners yesterday morning, of course.
Yeah, after giving back some of those big gains there. Costain is a big mover today.
They had numbers this morning, didn't they?
Up 9. They did. They also initiated this £20 million share buyback.
Oh, they jump on the buyback train, yes. So revenue was down 16%, but profit was up 9.3% and margins were up 110 basis points. So very happy with those numbers. The dividend was increased by a whopping 75%. So Costain shareholders will be happy with that.
Yeah, we also have Great Southern Copper, another one. If you watch the copper space, like a hawk like me, copper is, this stock in particular is up more than 8%, as you can see there. And this is after it continued to demonstrate strong growth potential from the Mostaza copper silver discovery. Let's have a look at the chat now, because I know loads of you have come on. Thank you. Those of you that have pointed out that IG needs to have this link on the home page. It is not easy to find, I agree. Morning, everyone that's come onto the chat as well. I see your questions, so please put them here or to Chris, and we will get them answered for you in real time. We also have a Smarter Web Company purchasing a further 3 Bitcoin. How is Bitcoin doing? I have not looked at Bitcoin.
It was down a bit yesterday. It's up this morning, 70,000, so pushing on towards 71. So maybe there's signs of life in crypto once again, doing its best to try and push high. But 70 has been that kind of barrier for weeks now. It's stopped going down, which is, I think, the most you can say for Bitcoin if you wanted to go up again. It's not continuing to fall for the time being, but its daily chart is still very much in a downtrend. We're still easily within the range of a lower high if we turned down from here. But for the moment, it has shown a willingness to hold above 63 and an unwillingness to go near that 60,000 low. Also in reporting news this morning, we had Persimmon, the house building company. Revenue was up 16%, underlying operating profit was up 17%, margins also up at Persimmon as well. So the shares are up 10%, whopping 10% in early trading. So a very solid set of numbers from them.
Yeah. So one of the key things from last night during your webinar, you were talking about caution and also how to have this entire conflict, bringing it into context. I have to say, my daughter really enjoyed your webinar. We dialed in. I mean, what
a slow evening.
More could you ask?
In the Ong household.
It's fantastic when we can do this, because I had to wrestle Emma at the end. I had to wrestle her to. She wanted to ask you a question. Her question was, and I said, I'm not sure the clients will want to listen to this, but I said I would ask. And show her. Her question was, do you think there's still Amazon operating in Tehran? She's a fan of Amazon.
I didn't know they operated in Tehran to start with.
I didn't know either. I was like, I don't know. I will ask.
They have their own equivalent beyond my ken.
Give us a summary of your webinar for those of you that I know many of you wanted to dial in because you messaged me for the link, but you
recording will be on the website later, on the YouTube page rather later.
I'll post it on Discord as well. So give us a quick summary.
Well, it was more a reflection on the craziness of oil prices, that it was, as we were saying a while ago, that they have obviously come off the highs of where we were, but the underlying bid is still there as long as those Straits of Hormuz remain closed and production remains down. It's likely that provides an underlying sort of strength to the oil price and continues to push it higher, which then spells trouble for inflation across the board. We get US inflation tomorrow, but it's February, so it's too early really to look into that. Markets did have a bit of a panic yesterday, pricing in rate hikes from the BOE and the ECB. That's now reversed to an extent. Certainly the BOE now just pricing in a small amount of cuts this year. But we are now on inflation watch for the next month to see if there are any signs of what happens from here. And that was kind of the gist of it, really. You'll note that oil prices have started to edge back up again after we've started talking on the open. Just a little bit of a move higher in this first hour of cash trading, if you will, and then indices trimming. I can't really say trimming gains, but the question is really, can they continue this move? That's the question really that now appears to be that needs answering, really.
So what are the kickers? What are the kickers that I'm looking at? Well, one of the kickers is that if we're the conflict to start coming back to your headlines again. It doesn't take a huge amount. Like Chris was saying that, the enemy also gets a vote, or the other player also gets a vote, depending on which side you're on. What I'm looking at are not just oil fields, but also what is very important for many of you who, like me, have worked in the region, is that their desalination plants are equally as vulnerable. So I've got this map up here for you just to point out all the different desalination plants across the country and across Saudi Arabia there. What's also fascinating is that if you look at these desalination plants, they are, of course, for a good reason, very close to where those oil fields are. I'm pointing at Jubail because Jubail, several years ago, not in the not too recent past, it used to be said, Chris, that if Jubail got taken out, then Riyadh only has a week before the residents have to move out. So that's just to underline how critical this is for the residents there. And for those of you that are wondering how I know this, is because there I am on the helipad looking out into the Gulf where I was checking out their desalination plants there some time ago.
When was that?
That was when I was at Reuters. We were there for the Abu Dhabi. I covered the Abu Dhabi Renewable Energy Summit. Ignore the last few words because really it was another oil summit. Let's be honest here. Let's be honest. It was another oil summit, but everything that we drank, even the swimming pool water, every single drop at Hyatt Capital Gate, Abu Dhabi, was desalinated. They burn oil, people, to make water. So that gives you an idea of how critical this is over there. Otherwise, the other big thing, if there was one, Oracle.
Oracle tonight, yes, the last perhaps of the big beasts reporting earnings. What are we expecting from them tonight?
So I have a nice chart.
Oh, good.
Here we are.
Rescue.
This is one I did earlier. So we are looking consensus EPS $1.70 is the expectation. If it achieves this, it'd be a 15.7% year-on-year upside there. Revenues expected to rise by almost 20% year-on-year as well. Those of you, I'm not an Oracle. I don't know whether you have a position in Oracle.
No. Of course, this is the one where the share price surged 40% in the space of 2 days in September, and then has spent the next 6 months quietly coming off, reversing the move entirely.
Yeah.
So we're interested to see whether they can finally staunch the losses here. A bit like Bitcoin, it stopped going down, which, as ever, is the first stage of a recovery, but it has yet to start going back up again. It sounds dreadfully simplistic, it is, but it is nonetheless a good way to think about these things. Is it still going down, or has it started going sideways for the time being? We seem to have moved into that phase. If you put a break through these lows from late February and early this month, then that would tend to lean you back into the it is going back down camp.
Do you have a magic formula? I know lots of different technical analysts have, triple bottom, if it's the way up. Some use moving averages. Do you have a
No,
formula?
I think you just have to look at the underlying trend. It's the most important thing. Look at it is still making lower highs and a lower low. So if you get a drop through a bit, again, like Bitcoin, it is held above that low from early in February. It hasn't yet tested that. So if it moves below that, clearly that will then reassert the view that we are headed lower once again. I'd still probably lean into the camp that it is in a downtrend. But if you look at the longer term view, it's a hell of a return to a long-term trend, because a bit like oil prices, how overextended we were on the monthly chart in September, all the way back down again towards the 50-month moving average, that is that blue line, which is, if you look back to 2022, is where it finally found support in the end, and then began that huge rally. Not saying history repeat itself, but it has shown an unwillingness to head back below the 50-month moving average. So keep an eye on that. That would be 50 months. How many days is that? 150, 1500 day moving average. So there's one you to watch.
Nice, nice, nice. And remember, every instrument has its own personality, its own character. So bear that in mind. That's what we talk about trading diaries. Right. We have just a few minutes left. Let's have a look to see whether there are any questions on the floor. Right, here we are. Morning, Pelican. Morning, Derek as well. And Mark Webb and Marco Polo. Many of you also asking, hey, and what have you seen so far? What positions do you have where it's more protected than most from the tree shaking?
Well, we would say oil prices yesterday, so oil stocks. A little bit of a boost for utilities. The market hadn't, particularly in the US, it hadn't really reacted, and I think it was assuming that things would end relatively soon. So compared to a lot of the volatility we've seen in previous years, it was relatively calm in US markets, I have to say.
Just taking a look here, this is not trading advice, but some of the ones that seem to be very resilient to this tree shaking, one of them being Pulsar Helium. Have a look at that stock. It has obviously moved a bit, but really very, very robust. It almost ignores what is happening in the Middle East and just does its own thing. Another key one, thanks to Maturin for pointing this one out to me. I really like the chart, which is why I had a look at it initially, is Mama's Creations. Are you aware of Mama's Creations? It's listed in the US and creates food for restaurants as well as mom and pop shops, as well as the mid-tier sort of like American that wants to go and buy loads and loads of pre-made food. Right, so
New one on me.
look at that chart, darling. Look.
Well, I can't see because it's
Oh yes, please put the chart
Sorry.
up, Cam and Phil. And it seems to be so resilient. Last 2 weeks,
nice trend.
yeah,
Nice trend.
very nice. It keeps its nose above that 20 and also the 50 EMA. And it seems to just, do something. It might be, slightly moved, but actually, no matter what Trump says, no matter what happens in the Middle East, it seems to just kind of do its own thing and kind of holds itself along. It might drop a bit, but it comes back again. So those are the resilient ones. Not trading advice, not asking you to take a position in these, but just letting you know from my filters, from just watching these charts every single day, that is what I have been seeing so far. Right, do share your positions and what you're investing and trading in with us. Like and subscribe, please, because then we can bring more of this good stuff to you. What's the rest of your day looking like?
Waiting for Oracle, I suppose. Things have calmed down, but so we're watching this pullback in oil, we're watching this bounce in stocks, and see if either last beyond the day or whether as we continue to see what goes on in the Middle East. I suspect that will be the bigger driver rather than what the president says.
We have some questions of Flo and Jenny. Thoughts on Rocky Tech, says Pelican. Tech sector, any? I am steering
Rocky,
clear.
is it a specific stock or is it just
No,
the
I
tech
think
sector?
it's the tech sector. I don't recall ever coming across Rocky Tech. I think he just means the tech sector in general.
Yeah.
I have not touched tech since the start of this year, just because I want there's so many names, right? Like there's AI Calypse, there's Soft Scare to kind of shake out, and I feel vindicated because, of course, we've had this conflict. Any thoughts on tech?
Well, as if Bitcoin has stopped going down but isn't going back up, tech has stopped going up but isn't going down, and the Nasdaq 100 pulled back to 24,000 last week and overnight, and then once again the buyers came in. So we are essentially still where we were in early October. Thank you for that.
My Apple Watch is listening to you.
Talking to me. So the sideways movement, but then that is digestion in time, or correction in what they call a correction in time rather than price, if you like, which is another fancy way of saying it has gone sideways. So again, resilience. If you look at something that's resilient to war fears, it appears tech is it. Perhaps because it's already been hit hard so much by the AI apocalypse and whatever was driving it over the past 2 months or so.
And another question from Derek. Although I feel like you've had some inside information asking about Delta Gold Technologies. Did someone tell you that I've got the CEO coming in today? So just putting this up here, I've got Michael Jones, CEO of DGQ, coming in to talk about the company and explain it a bit further. It's a bit like Ant-Man. Have you watched Ant-Man?
No.
He's not watched The Matrix. He's not watched any film that's been made after 1980, as far as I can tell.
Oh, why would you?
And those of you, this is not a gold company. This is not a gold company. This is a company that, just to explain a very high level, I'll get the CEO to explain for you. It uses minute amounts of gold, spins it very quickly to a nano level, which they don't quite understand why, but it makes compute go faster. And so Delta Gold, this is the chart here. I'm putting this up. The CEO, Michael Jones, will be with me, and we will place that on our YouTube channel, which is IGUK_official, and also on Discord for you look at that. And it's quite a lovely chart on the daily. Let's have a look at the weekly. It is also an upward momentum there. They are on the cusp of a breakthrough, but they are a, what is the other character to Goliath?
David.
Thank you. They are David amongst the Goliath. Can always count on Chris for biblical memory and history in their sector. So stay tuned for that. We'll let you know when it's out. Thank you so much, Chris.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
And for the rest of you, happy hunting. May you stack the odds in your favor.